Welcome to the 7 Laws of the Learner video series. We're currently in Law 2, the Law of Expectation. And now, here to tell you about the Law of Expectation is our teacher, Dr. Bruce Wilkinson.
I can remember when I first went up to Portland, Oregon, to begin my first year of college teaching at an outstanding school called Multnomah School of the Bible. Well, there was one course in the curriculum that for some reason nobody liked to teach, but it turned out that it was one of my favorite classes. It was a freshman class called How to Study the Bible. And because there were so many students, they divided into 8 different sections, 30 students in each one. I was given sections 1, 2, and 3. Well, as you can imagine, since I just finished graduate school, I looked kind of like a student myself. And since it was my first week of teaching, no one knew who I was, and I decided to have some fun. So I just kind of hung around, in the cafeteria and out by the bookstore and asked the students, like, have you heard about this new teacher coming, this Wilkinson guy? Who is he? And are his classes supposed to be any good? Should I take them or not? Well, I kind of asked all those questions, and I heard unbelievable answers throughout the week. Well, the first day of school began, and you should have seen a look of utter unbelief when some of those same students who gave me these unbelievable answers walked into my class and met me, the teacher, for the first time. I can remember walking down that hallway the first day, though, and bumping into one of the older faculty members that I hadn't met before. After we talked for a little bit and became acquainted, he asked me what sounded like a real strange question. He said, how come you have section 2 of Bible study methods? And I said, what are you talking about? I have section 1, 2, and 3. And he says, well, I have section 6, 7, 8, and I can't believe they gave you section 2. I mean, you're the new teacher, you're the rookie. I'm the guy who's been here for years. Well, I didn't know what he was talking about. I mean, what's so special about section 2? He said, well, didn't they tell you about section 2 in faculty orientation? I said, no, nobody said a word about section 2 until you. What's section 2? He said, section 2 is the most coveted section in the whole college. It has all the best students, the cream of the crop of the entire freshman class in one room. And I can't believe they gave it to you. I said, well, so what? I mean, what's going to happen in this class? I mean, it's still the same teacher and the same content. And he kind of rolled his eyes, kind of with a little bit of disgust, and says, it's going to be as different as night and day. The interaction, the quality of their papers, you're just going to feel the excitement, and the electricity is going to bounce off the wall. It's going to be unbelievable. I can't believe they gave it to you. He just kind of sauntered away. And there I was standing in the hallway, wondering to myself, I wonder what section 2 is really going to be like. Growing up, I never was in a section 2, so I really didn't know what to expect. Well, on that Tuesday, when classes began at 8 o'clock in the morning, in came section 1, and we had a great time in class. And then we had a coffee break, and when I came back, I was wondering to myself, what's really going to be different with these top-notch students anyway? But to be honest with you, the second they walked in, you could feel it. There was electricity in the air. It wasn't difficult at all to see what the other teacher meant. The discussions really moved on, and before any of us knew it, the class was over, just like that. Well, the semester went on, and I found myself always looking forward to teaching section 2. And halfway into the semester, I think it was on a Monday, and on the way to a faculty meeting, the academic dean, Dr. Joseph Wong, came walking alongside with me, and he said to me, Bruce, the honeymoon's probably over by now. You've been here at least a half a semester. How do you like teaching? And I said, Joe, I absolutely love to teach. In fact, I love teaching so much, I can't believe that you're paying me for it. And he laughed and he said, well, I guess we could change that if you like. But what do you really think? What's your favorite part of teaching? Well, without even thinking, I said, my favorite part of teaching is section 2. No kidding. You have section 2? Well, tell me, what's it like teaching section 2 anyway? Well, I think I went on for more than 2 minutes telling him about all of the remarkable differences there were. About the excitement and the discussion, the papers, and it was like a different world, than the other sections. Well, when he heard all this, he stopped on the sidewalk, right in the middle. And he said, you're kidding me. It's absolutely that different? Yeah? I assured him that it was that different. Well, friends, at that moment I heard it. the sentence that really threw me for a loop. He said, "Isn't that interesting, Bruce? Because we canceled Section 2 this year. There isn't a Section 2 anymore." You know how you can get a sick feeling in the pit of your stomach just like that? I said, "Joe, you're teasing me, right? This isn't really true." He said, "No, I'm not teasing you. The administrative committee decided to spread the outstanding students all across the entire freshman class." I said, "Joe, I need to go back to my office for a minute." I didn't believe it. I said to myself, this really can't be happening to me. I mean, this is unbelievable. I went back to my office and tried to think of some way to prove that he was wrong. I needed to check the facts for myself. And I said to myself, "Oh, I know, this is the grade book. The grade book doesn't lie." So I said, well, maybe I can find Section 1's grades. And then I looked at Section 3's grades. They were kind of average, good grades. And then I remember I had sweaty palms, and I opened it to look at the section number 2, and there it was, staring me right in the face. I mean, there was no comparison. A minus, B plus, B minus, A. It couldn't be true. And then I saw, off to the right of my desk, some papers that I hadn't graded yet, and I decided to do the old paper test. Here was Section 1's papers, 30 students. And then I saw Section 2, same number of students, one assignment. Look at that. I mean, I didn't want to see that. And here was Section 3, another 30 students. Paper test, you took out both of these stacks and put Section 3's papers on top of Section 1's papers, and then pushed the air out of them, the old paper test. Look at that. Section 2 had more pages than the other two sections put together. I couldn't believe it. Well, as you can sense, I ran into it, didn't I? I mean, I ran smack into the middle of this law. Because you know what was different in those sections? Absolutely nothing. It was the same day of the week, the same teacher, the same outline, the same freshman students that were all there. It's a normal performance in section number 1 and a normal performance in section 3. But section 2, I think they walked on water. The only difference, where was it? It was in my head. It wasn't out there in them. It was in their teacher. It was in my mind. Somebody had said something to me on the first day of school. I said, wait until you get section 2. And he had formed in my mind that section 2 was going to be one incredible teaching experience. And it was, wasn't it? Well, what would have happened had he told me that it wasn't section 2, but it really was section 3? Can you imagine what would have taken place? You see, I learned the hard way, didn't I? That what I privately think in my mind about you and about the class that I'm going to teach has a great deal to do with what you do in my class. You know, that doesn't just happen in the classroom. It happens out there every day, all of the time. It happens even more powerfully with a parent and with their child. Well, because of that, we want to teach you during this session how to have a section 2 for your class and even your children, because this principle works in every relationship we have. How do you use your expectations the way God would want you to use them? How do you really, I mean really, love your students in practical ways, in ways that make them stand tall and grow into everything you really want them to become? How do you blossom your class? How do you blossom your children? We're on the section now where we're dealing with the mindset and the model of the law of expectation. What is the normal mindset about expectation? The normal mindset is what I privately think about you makes no difference. Whether I think you're an exciting person to be around or if I hate to see you, that as long as I keep that thought quiet and I don't let my body show you that's how I feel about you, it will actually make no difference. And if I come to a class and I think to myself, oh no, not another boring class, but I walk in and say, hi, good morning, nice to be here with you, and you're lying through your teeth. But as long as you keep it quiet to yourself,
the thought is it makes no difference. That is, the average person's mindset is, what I privately think doesn't have any impact on you. This law is the exact opposite. What you privately think has an overwhelming impact upon everyone you meet. And we're going to try and take this concept of expectation, that word, and I want to put it in the biblical context and kind of boil it back down to three practical terms that are in two passages in the Bible. One of them is Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25, and the second one is Hebrews chapter 3, verses 12 and 13. And I want to show you three different concepts and take a look at two words. In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 and 25, it says, "And now let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works." In other words, let's think about one another for a purpose in order to stir up a positive thing, love, to stir up good works, not forsaking the assemblings of ourselves together, as is the manner of some. The time that Hebrews was written, some people just weren't going to church. It's clear, you're supposed to. But, now here's the second term I want you to see in a minute, exhorting. First consider, then exhort. Exhort one another, there it is, consider one another, exhort one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. Let's take a look at this word consider. That word in the original language means to brood over, to think, to analyze, to watch, to have insight. That passage says, I'm supposed to consider one another, and the concept is all the time I have my antennas out, and I am just surveying you all the time, trying to read you all the time. Now, I don't tell you I have my antennas out to find out what's the problem, if there is one, what's going on, but it's something privately I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be watching you. Why am I supposed to be watching you? To pick up what's really going on. Why should I pick up what's going on? Because I'm supposed to stir you up in two different ways. That your love grows and that you do more good works. So I'm constantly looking out there at you, trying to read you. Are you discouraged? Are you down? Are you angry? Are you bitter? Are you ready to give it up? Are you full of despair? Are you really going for it? What's going on? Our tendency isn't to have our antenna out. Our tendency is to be so filled up with our own life and our own needs that we're not even trying to read each other. So the first thing is to consider one another. Now, I'm supposed to consider you in order to stir up. That's the third one. Consider to stir up. Now, the considering that I'm doing over here is private. It's inside of me. You don't know I'm doing it. The stirring up takes place inside of you. So this is in you, this is in me. How do I go from what's become obvious to me about you and then do that to you? That's the word exhort. But exhorting one another. And I'm supposed to exhort you in this verse on the basis of what I've seen in you. I exhort to bring out love and good works in a positive way. Now hold that positive, because the next verse gives you the negative.